But defensively, we were pretty strong. Had a busted coverage for a touchdown. Really, really two busted coverages for touchdowns. One in the passing game in the red zone after a turnover in a sudden change situation, and really in the run, versus an unbalanced formation. It was a little bit different. Popped us, and again, we didn't line up perfectly, which I didn't know from the game field. I thought it was just a fit problem. But obviously, always things we can clean up on defense. Offensively, really did some good things. Encouraged with our run game and how we're moving the ball, and what we're doing in that part of the game, which is better than where we've been a year ago. And I think just every week, if we can continue to get better there. But hurt ourselves in the red zone when we get down there. As much as I'm happy for Kessman, if he sits on the sideline and kicks into a net all day, I'll be excited for him. He can just kick into the net. He's never missed one in the net yet. I'm happy with him over there. But we just got to score more when we get in the red zone. But it's, as you watch the tape, it's like one guy here, whether it's whether it's a throw, a catch, a block. It's just one guy, and that's how offense goes. And quite honestly, that's how defense goes. One guy doesn't do his job, we got an issue. And then special teams obviously saw some great things. There were some emphases we made with our kickoff team, our punt team. We had 2 penalties the week before. Our gunners weren't very good, and we kind of went old school and kind of turned back the time a little bit on that. And Kirk is kicking really well right now, and our coverage was much better. We lined up better. We didn't have those issues like we did against Syracuse. And then obviously the field goal team, just changed up some things we're doing and try to make it more realistic. I think I might have told you Thursday we had all the team yelling and screaming at him just to get them locked in. Whether that had anything to do with it or not, I have no idea. But obviously he had a lot of success there, and I think that's all I got. So we got a great North Carolina State team. We know they're athletic. I know 2017 when they came here they beat us, and I haven't forgotten that game. Went and watched that game late last night, and they've worked, the Wake Forest and Virginia Tech games this morning, and watching a lot of Texas tape. Obviously, that's where their coordinator came from. He's a Youngstown, Ohio guy, and so we're watching a lot of Texas stuff.
Pat, last night when you went back to rewatch the 17 game, what stood out to you? Anything, even just like little things, just like pop up when you're like, oh, I remember that, or whatever.
Yeah, I remember they're really athletic. I mean, they had a lot of guys drafted off that football team. I think if you count them up and put them in the NFL right now, they were a really, really talented football team. We ran into a buzzsaw with they're talented now, but they were really, they had Chubb at the end, and they were, Samuels, who is next door this week, at tailback, and really Mr. Do-It-All in the backfield for them. They were really good. Tailback is one of the I forget his name, but I'm sure he's somewhere. But he's not there now, I don't think. But he's probably somewhere in the NFL. I mean, their D-line, their O-line were a bunch of first and second round draft choices from what I recall. But they were really good, and we had a battle. We didn't get blown out, and we were young that year too.
And if you had much hard not to notice, you mentioned on Saturday we heard a lot about our speed. I was never worried about that, which says that you believe that your defense is pretty fast. I'd say
and our offense.
Your defense looks really fast, but do you think people sleep on that? I mean, when I hear you say that, I hear you say in addition to, I think we're fast, that I hear you say other people don't think we're fast defensively.
Well, it's just, it's what you read. I mean, Jerry's sleeping on us. I mean, he's always wanted to ask the slow questions, right, Jerry? Give me just a head shake.
No, I don't agree with that, Pat. Sorry.
But, just cracked. I don't know what it is. I mean, it must be just slow in Pittsburgh. But, we recruit too. Those guys, we have scholarships. We're not like, we just don't get all walk-ons. But, we recruit. We have scholarships that we give out, and we try to get fast guys too. And obviously our guys were faster than their guys last week. So, which is what I thought going into the game. I did not think, I truly didn't think they could move the ball on us. You take that 75 yards out, they got 75 yards, or 150 yards total offense, and that should not have been. Even the touchdown should not have been. Again, it could have been another goose egg, guys. I mean, it's 3 in a row, and defensively we got to just you want to win big time games and win them all. You can't give them anything. You just can't give them anything. So, but I think our speed will is pretty good. I don't think
was that a point of when you took the job? Was that sort of a need that you felt needed to be addressed defensively, and you realized it was going to take some time? I mean, even Coach Satterfield said the other day, he said, "Look, they do a great job of getting their guys redshirting, developing them, and bringing them along." But was that an area that you were very specifically looking at when you took over?
Not really. I mean, we're just looking to get good players. I mean, we're looking for speed and football players. I mean, it's not like you're going, oh, gosh, we're slow. I don't remember us being slow. I just know every year we're just going to continue to try to recruit the best players we can. We're looking at size, speed, and football players. I mean, we're looking for guys that can play the game. And, 2-star, 4-star, doesn't really matter. Some guys get more 4-star fast guys, and we'll take the 2-star fast guy because they're out there. We're just looking for guys that play hard, play with great effort, and that's what we have right now. Our kids, no one's going to question their effort wherever it is. I mean, I'll go, for example, like Rashad Battle. I mean, he's one of our gunners right now. 2 weeks in a row, he's just wiring up their punt team. They're trying to cover it out on the punt team, and Rashad Battle is with one hand. He's got one hand right now. I hope he has two this weekend. He's wiring people up at the line of scrimmage. So just playing hard and playing with technique and taking coaching.
Pat, you were down a few tight ends this week. I mean, what did you see from the guys that were on the field on Saturday?
I saw some busts. I saw some mistakes. I think, you play 5 offensive linemen. And actually we played 6 offensive linemen, really 7 offensive linemen. And we talk about mental errors. We had more mental errors, in the tight end room than we had in the entire offensive line who played, how many plays. There's one tight end out there, probably per snap, maybe every once in a while you put 2. But we just had, mental errors there. And I think Danny Morega is really, really good. Grant Kerrigan didn't have any. He had a winning performance, but you're putting, maybe a smaller, more athletic guy out there than Grant. Grant's tough and he's gotten a lot better. We're excited about what he's become a better blocker because of, that offensive line work that he's had. So I'm excited about where Grant is, especially with that winning performance that he had. But we had, MAs out of those guys and we have to clean that up.
Pat, I know we asked you after the game about Vincent Davis, but where have you kind of seen the strides from him over the last year, really? Kind of obviously getting the bulk of the carries now through 3 weeks here.
I wish he'd catch that one snap when he was at quarterback. I can tell you that. That'd be nice. But we'll practice that this week. Vince Davis has done a nice job. He's just more mature than he was a year ago. He's obviously not playing with a broken forearm and a cast on there, but he can make you miss. He's playing with a lot of confidence, and he's a spin runner and not easy to take down. He's making some people miss.
Pat, you mentioned.
Speaking of your tight ends, I was wondering if the lack of production from the tight ends so far this season affects your game or play calling on Saturdays and your game planning during the week.
I think, game planning during the week, of course, you got to kind of switch around what you're going to do depending on who's ready to go. Play calling, you're going to put the ball in people's hands that you're going to make plays. So, Danny almost had a great catch over the middle there. I thought he was going to pull it down, to be honest with you, and he's got the ability to make that catch. But, it obviously affects your game plan. You don't know, Tuesday or Wednesday, who you're going to have, who you don't have, who are you not going to have, who are you going to have. You never know with this pandemic who you're going to have as well. So there's a lot of things that change what you're going to do, offensively, defensively, game plan-wise.
Jordan Addison's 21 catches leads the ACC. You talked about him all fall camp, but, is he doing exactly what you expected him to do this year?
I would say Jordan is. I didn't realize he was leading the ACC, but it seems like he's got about 7 catches a game, so 7, 7, 7. He's done a nice job, and he's there's a couple that you'd like to take back. He's had a couple deep balls that he could pull in, but he's done what I thought. He's done probably more than I thought. I think we talked about it last week with Quadri Henderson in his first game compared to Jordan Addison's first ball game. So Jordan's just going to continue to get better as the season goes on. We got to keep getting him the ball.
Pat, you talked about playing 7 offensive linemen. What'd you think of the guys that came in after you lost Gabe's performance, and what made Carson get more of the reps there as the game went on?
Just watching a few plays, obviously when Keldrick was in there, saw a guy run by him. I saw him getting out of his stance a little bit late. I kind of focused on that because when Gabe was out, I was like, oh, gosh, what are we going to do? Who's going to be that guy? And again, he's just getting better. I like where Keldrick is. He's probably not where we want him to be right now. he probably thinks he may be further along than he is. But when you watch the tape, or I watch from the sideline, I just didn't feel comfortable with what happened there. And then we moved, Carson over, and Carson played a really good game. He had one bust in protection. You guys could probably watch it. He saw a corner coming, and, he had there's a guy that's like 260 in front of you, or 280, whatever he is. And then there's a, 185-pound guy there. He jumped out and tried to block the corner and left a big old 5 technique for Vince Davis to block, Vince is starting to go after the corner, and then Vince has got to come back and block the 280-pound DN. So little things like that. Again, I think that's more plays. I think Carson had 47 plays, which is more plays than he's ever played in one single game. So it's awesome for the depth chart and those guys to get those serious ACC reps.
Matt Fortuna, our newcomer, I believe, has a question. Matt, please go ahead.
How's it going, Pat?
Hey, these guys are quick. I saw you on my.
I feel like I'm in the room being called on. What's it do for a defense when you have so many guys who can get after the quarterback so often? I think you have 5 guys who have multiple sacks through 3 games so far. Just as far as the morale, the makeup, the sideline, I mean, what's that do for the overall well-being of the defense?
I think it gives everybody a lot of confidence. I'm sure it gives that secondary a lot of confidence. It gives everybody confidence. And I think it gives the offense confidence that, they got to block those guys up front. And, Deslin goes right into that. I mean, Deslin had some TFLs and made some plays in the backfield besides Patrick having an unbelievable game, and Rashad. But I think, having those guys on the edge, certainly changes things offensively.
Thanks.
Pat, going back to that 2017 NC State game, I mean, if you don't count the one pass he threw against Syracuse, that was really Kenny's first action in college. What do you kind of remember about that, about what you saw out of him 3 years ago in that game?
Yeah, what I remember him scrambling for his life in that game, because they thought they had a freshman quarterback there, and he did a pretty good job under pressure, but he was scrambling for his life. They were blitzing. I mean, they were blitzing about every down, just trying to see if they could rattle a freshman quarterback. That's what I remember there.
Pat, one of the things that Scott Satterfield said after the game that gave them a hard time was when you guys got into your Delta package, knowing which linebacker was coming. You don't blitz a ton, but as a guy who's, a noted defensive mind, how much do you take those opportunities in that 3-3 front to really dial up some creativity and try to confuse some offenses by hiding some guys or maybe trying to do some different things with who's coming on the rush?
That's all we do. That's why we like that front, Alan. I mean, we get into that, and there's a threat of multiple guys going, whether it's Brandon Hill or DeMar Hamlin the week before from the field, and Phil Campbell's had an incredible year for us so far. He just maybe that unsung hero of that defense. He plays fast, hard, tough, but Phil Campbell into the boundary, and then you got Servassier and Cam Bright inside. That it's like which one of those guys are you going to block? And when there's 7 of them sitting up there, and you're trying to change protections, and you've got different blitzes called, it's kind of hard, and that's part of the scheme part of it. When I talk about guys getting sacks, I mean, there's a lot of indecision. Now again, North Carolina State's going to come out and gap protect. Probably they're going to sprint out, so we'll have to work a lot of sprint out passes, just trying to get away from the pressure. So we'll have to be prepared for the gap protection this week, where they max protect. And really try to leave no seams, and then obviously sprint out away from our pressure. Depending on which, whether Leary or Hockman's in there, depending, they're both right-handed, left-handed. We don't know which quarterback we're going to face. I expect to be seeing both of those guys, looking at that offense.
Pat, I know he played much more later in that season, but how much do you think Kenny learned from that, that stint against NC State in 17, that experience late in the game? Like, I mean, even just like as a guy just getting in for the first time, really.
Well, I'm sure he's a heck of a lot better right now. If he went back and watched that tape compared to where he is now, he's learned a ton, not just from one game, but, the only way you get experience as a quarterback is to get those game reps and be put under the fire. So, and he was under fire.
And I know both you guys are defensive guys. What do you know about Tony Gibson, and have you ever been in a game against him? And what about his defense that makes it good?
They're in a 3-3 stack, and they can bring pressure from anywhere. So you got to be aware of where he is. And I really, I know Tony recruiting wise, hung out in the airport, at some gates, a few times, and just talked ball and personnel and recruiting. I know he's a great recruiter, and he's a great coordinator. He's had a lot of success as a coordinator, whether it was at Michigan or West Virginia. So, they've always had success, and I'm sure he'll have those guys ripping and roaring when they come up to Pittsburgh.
Pat, on Saturday, you all had nobody missing due to COVID-related protocols. It's down from 3 the week before that and 7 the week before that. What sort of measures or steps did the program take, or has the program taken to sort of control that and to get things, and to get those figures down?
Our figures have been low from the beginning without getting into numbers, Craig. I mean, they've been really low. Really haven't done anything different than just continue to have a constant reminder that it can happen to you, whether it's sticking up all the postponed games from last week or this week. You're one game away. I mean, I talked to him after the game about how, I guess the bars are open in Oakland, and just constant reminder of hey, you're not allowed to go to a bar. Bars are off limits. I don't care who's opened them up. I don't care if it's, the bartender. I don't care what the bars are closed. And I told them they shouldn't hang out with a girl that's been to a bar. I mean, I'd check and see if they got a stamp on their hand. If they got a stamp on their hand, I wouldn't let them in. I'd say, see after this season's over. Constantly staying on them, Craig, and reminding them that we're not out of the woods yet. I mean, we could go from 0 to having 17 of them in quarantine this week. I mean, that's what it is, and I think that's kind of what everybody needs to realize is just because we're good right now doesn't mean you're going to be good in the future.
And as much as you tell them that, is that something that has to come from leaders within, has to come from really a strong message from their peer leaders?
No doubt about it. It's kind of interesting you asked that, Jeff, is Friday night, I'm eating dinner with the captains. Always, we have a captain's table for dinner, and that's who I found out. I didn't know the bars are open in Oakland. I had no idea. I don't even know when they open. They said, yeah, the coach, bars are open. I was like, really? Well, that's going to be, I'll make sure I mention that after the game. Thank you guys. Because nobody tells me that. It hasn't been on my checklist of checking the bars. So, it's a dangerous spot for our kids to be in right now. If you want to play football, that's not a spot you need to be in. And, everybody'd like to go have a celebration, after a game, or, and just go out and have fun. But, you can't do it.
Pat, speaking of kind of building off that, I mean, the fact that you guys have stayed so healthy has allowed you to condition and prepare maybe as normally as possible, given the circumstances. Other coaches, I know David Cutcliffe and Fuente have talked about their schools have missed practice time, and they talked about in their games, their kids were gassed in the second half. It doesn't look like your kids are gassed at all in the second half, particularly on defense. I mean, how much of that is just the fact that you guys have been able to kind of keep things normal because you've been able to kind of keep the tests under control?
Well, I think that helps. And, I don't know what everybody else has done or not done. I go back to Navy, just listen to, again, I don't listen to many interviews, but I don't know if anybody was playing or just listen to the one after they got beat by BYU. I think it was BYU in the opener, and were gassed and didn't tackle. And, our guys are in condition. If we got 50 guys out there, can't tell you we've had a full roster out there every day, but it's our job. It's, Coach Stacchiazzi's job to, that anybody that did sit out for 14 days or 10 days, that we get them in shape. And, regardless of whether they practiced last week or didn't, it's our job to get them in shape and get them, ready for a game, whether it's in a day or two, whatever the prep time is, but, we've been fortunate that we stayed away from that. And I just hope it continues. And again, it's the kids, so they got to do it. They got to want it. And, I talk every week about how they have to earn the right to play another game. And we got to earn the right this week to play number 4. And we had to earn the right this weekend, because that's what scares you, is what happened this weekend after the game. What did they do? Where'd they go? I can't babysit them.
Pat, over the weekend, kind of on that same note, Syracuse and I think it was Georgia Tech, their game was delayed because of they didn't know if kids were negative or positive. Have you guys had any close calls in terms of getting results back with Mako? I know, and of course, the last 2 games have been noon kicks, so I don't know if that plays into it at all either.
Yeah, we haven't had any problem getting, when I wake up in the morning, it's been awesome, to be honest with you. When I wake up in the morning, I know. I think the first weekend I knew at midnight. I think I found out at 5:51 Saturday morning that the coast was clear and we were good to go. But so I don't know what happened at Syracuse. I'd like EJ to find out, and people just to find out, just so you kind of get prepared for the next thing. What happens, if you do get a positive on Friday? What was the situation? I don't know. Were they invalid? I don't know what the tests were. I don't think you can retest on a Friday. They really give you two things there, from what I understand. I mean, you get 2 tests. So if the first one's positive, they go to the second sample. So you're getting swabbed. They stick it in a vial, and then they do it again, and they stick it in a different one. So if that one comes out positive, they go to the second one. If that one's positive, then you're positive. There should be no delaying of a football game, from what I gather. So I don't know what happened there. So I guess I can't answer unless one of the things was invalid. Maybe the second one was invalid. I don't know. We have not had any issues at all, though.
Pat, how did Chase Pine do in the replacement for Wendell Davis, middle linebacker? And in that vein, any new information on Wendell and Lucas?
No new information. Day to day, we'll see how that goes. But Chase Pine, like we know, did a great job. I don't want to call Chase a gamer because I don't like gamers, and I like Chase. But Chase is a you go back to maybe the last game he started was Stanford. And he played an unbelievable game down in the Sun Bowl. So I knew he would play lights out. I just know how he is. He played hard. He played physical. He got everybody lined up. He did all the things that you expect your middle linebacker to do. So he had an outstanding game, and we expect him, as long as he's that starter. And shoot, he may just earn the job by getting it done every week. So, we hope Wendell's back quickly. But when we move on to the next guy's up, and we certainly have a lot of faith in Chase Pine.
Pat, speaking on that gamer note, you talked about how you were trying to get that message across to Kalijah Kansey last week. How did you think him and the other young players approached the game, and what's your read on them having to stay focused after a big win over a ranked opponent like this past Saturday?
Just one day. The focus part is easy. That's my job, is make sure they're we get back to business tomorrow. We practice. They're in here watching tape and eating a brunch this morning, and getting some study hall hours in. But because it's their academic day. But the young guys did a good job. I mean, inside, whether it was, Cansey or Devin Danielson, David Green ended up starting the game, and David had a best week inside. So we're just it's kind of like the tailback position. Who's having a great week of practice, and we'll start that guy. And obviously David was the guy last week. Who's going to be the guy this week based on what they do offensively? Who can stop what they do? And I think that's going to be the big thing.
I know you talked about this last
two
week
running
a
backs.
little bit, but
Oh, sorry, Kelly. Go ahead.
go ahead, Jerry. No, you go, Jerry. I'll go after you.
No, ladies before gentlemen. Go ahead, Kelly.
I know you talked about this. Thank you, guys. I know you talked about this last week a little bit on Thursday, but since then, Mr. Hamlin has put out a petition for the parents, and then Jimmy Morrissey on Saturday tweeted, "Please let my parents come to the game on Saturday." Is that frustration starting to boil up, that these kids want their parents to at least watch them play?
I
As
hope
a parent, is it frustrating for you?
It is. I mean, you sit in these homes. I hope it's starting to boil up. I mean, and again, here's the thing. I'll go back. These parents are coming here. I mean, Kenny's parents are meeting him at the stadium every day. They're here. They just can't go sit in the seats. So they're all here. So where are they watching the game? They're probably going to some bar for 4 hours. I would rather them not be in a bar. I'd rather them be sitting in section 138 with nobody around them. We get this, 75,000 seat stadium. I'd rather be there than some bar next to who knows who. Because after the game, those parents are going to be with our kids. I mean, and that to me is the scariest part. Like, I still don't understand it. I mean, the safest thing for everybody to do is put those parents in that stands, because they're going to be with our kids afterwards. And if we don't want any problems and we want to play football, to me, that's the best thing to do.
Pat, any idea if that'll be a possibility?
And what stands out of State's running backs?
John, please, you were asking a question first, and then we'll end the session with Jerry. John, go ahead.
Yeah, just to follow up on Kelly's question, any idea if that'll be a possibility this weekend, Pat, to get parents or a limited number of fans in the stands? We know that there was an announcement that I guess there were no fans for September, but this week.
I think there's a chance. We don't know right now, but I'm going to say my prayers tonight, and there's a chance. I don't know when we'll know, but I think there's a chance for sure.
For parents, or just a small amount of fans?
Parents would be the number one thing. I think is I'd be fighting for number one is the parents, but there's a chance for anything. Who knows? I mean, the governor's going to make that decision. That's not for me or Heather Like or the chancellor. That's for the governor to make that decision, to make sure we're all safe, and we trust that he'll make the right decision. We all want the parents to come. We all want our families to go. We want the fans to go. I want the band to go. I want the Panther pit to go. I want everybody to go. But the governor's got to do what's he feels best for for everybody involved, and I'm sure he will. But the smaller it is, I think it's even safer. We hope and pray.
Jerry, you have a question?
Yeah, this may not be as good as Kelly's question or John's question, but I was just wondering about NC State's running backs, Pat, and Person and Knight, and exactly what do they do that most concerns you?
Yeah, they got Pearson is really listed as a starter right now. And I think they're both really good. Knight is big. He looks big and physical and fast. And I think Knight's got more carries than Pearson does, but they got the two-headed monster there, and they're both really good. They run a lot of inside zone, outside zone, some similar runs that we saw last week, even out of some similar formations. So, the offensive line is really good up front. So, and they got speed out there. In fact, they got big wideouts. I mean, you look at the Devin Carter kid, 6'4". I'm not even going to try his name. Mika is his first name, 6'3", 220 pounds, I believe. They got some big wideouts out there, and I know the receiver coach George McDonald, who I've worked with at Northern Illinois in the past, is a great receiver coach. So I know he'll have those guys prepared.
Coach, thank you very much for your time, and to our